12 Buddhist Principles for Immediate Life Transformation. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a completely new perspective, one where life's challenges don't weigh you down as before, and each day feels purposeful and calm. Sounds almost too good to be true, right? Yet ancient Buddhist wisdom suggests that profound change can happen in a single moment of insight. Change doesn't have to take years of struggle, it can begin right here, right now. Are you feeling stuck in routine, overwhelmed by stress, or constantly chasing something just out of reach? If so, you're in the right place. In this journey we're about to take together, you'll discover 12 timeless Buddhist principles that can instantly start transforming your life from the inside out. These aren't dry theories, they're practical guidelines tested by 2,600 years of experience, capable of bringing peace, purpose, and even joy into the very moments that once felt frustrating or empty. What makes these principles so powerful? Each one shifts the way you see the world and yourself, unlocking an immediate change in how you experience life. You'll learn how to stop the mental habits that keep you unhappy and develop new ones that bring clarity and contentment. We'll delve into insights that monks and masters have cherished for centuries, from embracing change, to letting go of anger, to living more kindly and mindfully. And we'll do it in a down-to-earth, conversational way, with relatable stories and examples, so you can easily imagine how to apply them in your daily life. By the end of this talk, you'll have a toolbox of spiritual and practical wisdom to draw on whenever you need a mindset shift or a dose of inspiration. Grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's explore these life-changing principles together. Stay tuned through to the end. Not only will we break down all 12 principles with real examples and actionable tips, but we'll also wrap up with a set of reflective takeaways for each one. These final life lessons will help you remember and live these teachings day by day. Ready to begin transforming your life? Let's dive in. Table of Contents. 1. Principle 1. Focus on your own path. Change begins within. 2. Principle 2. Embrace impermanence. Accept change. 3. Principle 3. Let go of attachments. Free yourself from clinging. 4. Principle 4. Release anger and hatred. The power of forgiveness. 5. Principle 5. Cultivate compassion. Live with loving kindness. 6. Principle 6. Practice mindfulness. Be present in the moment. 7. Principle 7. Develop a meditation practice. Train your mind for inner peace. 8. Principle 8. Follow the middle way. Find balance in life. 9. Principle 9. Understand karma. You reap what you sow. 10. Principle 10. Be grateful and content. Appreciate what you have. 11. Principle 11. Cultivate wisdom and discernment. See reality clearly. 12. Principle 12. Learn from everything. Every experience is a teacher. Throughout these chapters, we'll also reference authentic Buddhist teachings, from the Dhammapada to wise words of the Dalai Lama and other masters, to give depth to each principle. Don't worry, you don't need any prior knowledge of Buddhism. Each concept will be explained in a friendly, relatable way, with stories and examples to show how you can apply it immediately. Let's begin our journey with the very first principle, one that lays the foundation for all the rest, turning your focus inward and taking charge of your own transformation. Principle 1. Focus on your own path. Change begins within. Have you ever caught yourself blaming others for your problems or comparing your life to someone else's? It's a common trap. We think if only my boss wasn't so demanding, I could be at peace, or everyone else seems to have it easier than me. Buddhism invites us to flip the script entirely. The first principle is to focus on your own path, to direct your energy toward improving yourself and your own mind, rather than fixating on what others are doing wrong. In other words, true change begins within. The Buddha taught that liberation and happiness come from personal effort and self-understanding, not from waiting on external circumstances to change. In the Dhammapada, a collection of the Buddha's sayings, it's stated very clearly, you yourselves must strive, the Buddhas only point the way. thebuddhistunion.org. This means that no one else can walk your journey for you, not even the wisest teacher. They can give you guidance, point the way, but you have to take the steps. It's an empowering message. You have the ability to transform your life. The Buddha's final advice to his disciples was along the same lines. He said, "Be a lamp unto yourselves, take the Dhamma as your lamp, take the Dhamma as your refuge. Do not look for refuge in anyone else." Buddhas.org. Imagine that, the Buddha, instead of demanding blind loyalty, basically told people to trust their own insight and effort, using his teachings as a light. So what does focusing on your own path look like in everyday life? For one, it means taking responsibility for your reactions and choices. If someone is rude to you at work, you can't control that behavior, but you can control whether you respond with anger or with calm. If you're feeling stuck in life, it's not about who did or didn't help you, it's about what you can do now to move forward. This mindset shift, from blaming external factors to empowering yourself, is incredibly transformative. The moment you reclaim responsibility, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the hero of your own story. You start asking, what can I do to improve this situation, instead of why is this happening to me? That change in attitude is immediate and liberating. Focusing on your own path also means letting go of comparisons and judgments about others. So much of our distress comes from measuring ourselves against people around us, a sibling, a coworker, or even strangers on social media. We often look at others' highlight reels and feel inadequate, or we judge their mistakes to feel a bit superior. Buddhism gently reminds us that this habit only breeds envy and arrogance, keeping us unhappy. There's a well-known verse, "Let none find fault with others, let none see the omissions and commissions of others. But let one see one's own acts, done and undone." RealBuddhaQuotes.com. In modern terms, keep your eyes on your own work. It's like in school when you're told to mind your own exam and not peek at your neighbor's paper, because your progress doesn't depend on theirs. Constantly checking what others have or do distracts you from your growth. Consider a small example. You're scrolling through social media, seeing a friend's vacation photos in Bali. Suddenly you feel your life is dull in comparison. You might even start resenting your responsibilities or feeling like you're behind. This spiral can ruin your mood for the day. Now apply the first principle, catch yourself and remember, that is their path, and I'm on mine. Instead of envy, wish them well, and then turn your attention back to what you can do to make your own day more fulfilling. Maybe you can't fly to Bali, but you can take a walk in the park or start planning a weekend road trip, something positive for yourself. Rather than scrolling enviously, you decide to spend 30 minutes learning a new skill or exercising, something that genuinely benefits you. This shift from outward focus, others' lives, to inward focus, your life, immediately changes your state of mind. You go from feeling victimized or inferior to feeling proactive and empowered. Another aspect of this principle is self-correction. It's easy to point out others' faults while ignoring our own. But as the saying goes, when you point one finger at someone, 3 fingers point back at you. Try flipping criticism into introspection. If you catch yourself thinking, so and so is always so negative, turn it around. Am I ever negative? How can I cultivate more positivity in myself? When you do this, you're not condoning others' bad behavior, you're simply choosing to concentrate on the one person you can truly change, you. The irony is, when you improve yourself, you often inspire others to change as well, without saying a word. Your family, friends, or colleagues may notice your calmer demeanor or stronger work ethic, and that might encourage them to reflect on themselves too. Change ripples outward, but it starts at the center, within you. It might help to remember the metaphor of a garden. Imagine your mind as a garden that needs tending. If you're constantly peering over the fence at your neighbor's garden, criticizing how they prune their roses or envying their sunflowers, your own plot will become overrun with weeds. But if you focus on pulling your weeds, watering your plants, and ensuring your garden gets sunlight, guess what? Your garden will bloom. And you'll feel peaceful seeing it thrive, regardless of what the neighbor is doing. In a similar way, focusing on your path brings an immediate sense of peace and accomplishment. You're no longer scattered in 100 directions, your energy is invested in constructive change. To practice this principle today, try a simple exercise. Throughout the day, whenever you find your mind drifting to what someone else should be doing or how someone else caused a problem, pause and redirect that thought. Gently remind yourself, always begin with myself. Ask, what can I do right now to make this better or to grow from this? It could be as simple as taking a deep breath and choosing not to argue, or deciding to spend your evening learning rather than complaining. Each time you do this, you'll notice a feeling of strength and calm arising. That's the power of taking charge of your own life. As the Buddha wisely put it, you become your own refuge and light. In summary, Principle 1 is about personal responsibility and inward focus. Instead of waiting for the world to change or others to behave a certain way, you start changing your own mindset, actions, and reactions. It's a shift from victim to agent, from comparison to self-improvement. The immediate life transformation here is subtle but profound. You reclaim your power. You realize, perhaps for the first time, that you are in the driver's seat of your life. And as you steer yourself in the direction of wisdom and compassion, using the principles we're about to explore, your whole experience of life begins to change for the better. Takeaway for Principle 1, your journey is yours alone. When you stop looking outward for someone to blame or emulate, and instead turn inward to better yourself, you ignite the spark of true change. Focus on your own path, and you'll find a sense of freedom and empowerment that no external situation can take away. Principle 2, embrace impermanence, accept change. If there's one thing certain about life, it's that nothing stays the same. Seasons change, our bodies age, relationships evolve, fortunes rise and fall. Change is the very nature of existence. Yet, many of us suffer because we desperately want things to stay fixed. We cling to happy moments hoping they'll last forever, or we dread and resist the inevitability of loss and change. Buddhism teaches that embracing the truth of impermanence, anicca in Pali, is a key to freedom. Impermanence means everything is transient, from the tiniest flower that blooms for a day to the mightiest mountains that erode over millennia. Rather than seeing this as depressing, Buddhism sees it as a source of wisdom and even comfort. By accepting that this too shall pass, we can transform our relationship with life's ups and downs immediately. The Buddha put it succinctly, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Buddhism.libntu.edu.tw. In other words, once you deeply understand that everything is in flux, you stop grasping so tightly, and a lot of your mental suffering dissolves. Think about it, much of our pain comes from fighting reality. We mentally shout no, at life's changes. No, I don't want my kids to grow up so fast. No, I can't accept that I lost my job. No, you can't leave me, and so on. This resistance is like trying to hold back a tide with your bare hands. It's exhausting and ultimately futile. Impermanence is a fact. The sooner we make peace with it, the sooner we find peace within. Let's make it concrete with a story from the Buddhist time. It's the famous parable of Kisa Gotami. Kisa Gotami was a young mother who lived over 2,500 years ago. Tragically, her only child, just a toddler, fell ill and died. Gotami was devastated. She simply could not accept his death. In her grief, she ran from house to house in her village carrying her son's lifeless body, begging for medicine to bring him back. Of course, no one could help. Death is irreversible, but in her shock and denial, she wasn't ready to hear that. Eventually, a kind person suggested she go see the Buddha, who was known for his great compassion and wisdom. When Kisa Gotami pleaded with the Buddha for a cure, he listened patiently and made a gentle request. He told her, I can make a medicine for your child, but I need one crucial ingredient. Bring me a handful of mustard seeds from any family that has never lost someone to death. Gotami felt a surge of hope. Mustard seeds were common, almost every household had some. This task seemed doable. She immediately went to the first house and asked for mustard seeds, adding the Buddha's condition. No one has ever died in your family, right? The villagers there sadly shook their heads. They had lost loved ones in the past. Gotami moved to the next house, and the next. In every home, she found mustard seeds easily enough, but not a single home free of death. One family had lost a grandfather the year before, another had lost a child, another, a cousin or a wife. House after house, story after story, Gotami slowly absorbed the reality that she was not alone in her suffering. Death and loss come to all families. By the time she reached the end of the village, the weight of her grief had shifted. She realized what the Buddha was trying to show her, that death is a natural part of life, and impermanence spares no one. Gently, she finally accepted that her child was gone. She laid his body to rest. Then she returned to the Buddha to thank him. In acknowledging impermanence, Gautama found a kind of peace and eventually even spiritual awakening. Wikipedia.org. Her pain was still there, but now it was held in a wiser understanding of life's nature, which eased the sharp edges of her sorrow. This story is ancient, but its lesson is immediately applicable to our lives today. We might not be dealing with something as extreme as the death of a loved one at this moment, and if you are, my heart goes out to you. But we all face little deaths every day: the end of a friendship, leaving a home, losing a job, or simply the passing of time, which means the end of youth, the end of yesterday, the end of an experience. How we handle these changes makes all the difference. If we live in denial or resistance, we prolong our suffering. But if we remind ourselves, yes, everything changes, let me cherish what I have now, and when it's time, let it go, we suffer much less. Consider an everyday example: you have a wonderful weekend with friends, and by Sunday evening you feel sad that it's over. Instead of clinging to the past, I wish that weekend never ended, a Buddhist approach would be to reflect, it was a great time and, like all moments, it passed. I'm grateful I had that experience. Now it's time to move on to the new week. This simple acceptance can prevent the Sunday scaries or post-holiday blues from overpowering you. Or think of a negative situation: you're in a traffic jam, frustrated and angry that you're stuck. Remembering impermanence, you tell yourself, this jam won't last forever. Eventually I'll be moving again. It sounds obvious, but reminding yourself of that fact can actually calm you down. Instead of your mind spiraling, I'll be late, this is awful, why does this always happen to me, you take a breath and perhaps even find something to appreciate in that moment, maybe a song on the radio. Lo and behold, eventually the traffic does ease, as it always does. By embracing impermanence, you saved yourself a lot of unnecessary torment during the wait. Impermanence also teaches us to value the present. Because we truly understand that moments are fleeting, we learn to live more fully in each one. If you know a beautiful flower will wither in a day, you naturally appreciate its beauty more deeply right now. If you remember that your child will only be this young once, perhaps that helps you be more present and patient during bedtime stories, because you realize this phase is temporary and precious. This isn't meant to induce anxiety, oh no, everything I love will disappear, but rather to encourage gratitude. The Buddha said that seeing impermanence with wisdom leads us away from suffering. Part of that wisdom is seeing that because joys are fleeting, they are all the more worthy of our full presence and appreciation. And because sorrows are fleeting, they are more bearable, knowing that they too will change. One Buddhist verse goes hand in hand with impermanence: this too shall pass. It's not actually a direct quote from scripture, but it encapsulates the Buddhist attitude. When you're experiencing difficulty, say you're heartbroken after a breakup or stressed about a project, telling yourself this is painful now, but it will pass immediately plants a seed of hope. It reminds you that pain is not permanent. And when you're experiencing something wonderful, say you're on a dream vacation, remembering this too will pass encourages you not to waste a second of it complaining or being on your phone. Instead you soak up every sunset and laugh wholeheartedly with your companions. Paradoxically, accepting that the vacation will end helps you be happier during it than if you're in denial and then get hit by disappointment at the end. The principle of impermanence also helps us cope with change when it arrives. For example, many people fear aging. But aging is as natural as the sunrise. You can't prevent growing older, but you can shift how you view it, perhaps as gaining wisdom or entering a new chapter, rather than clinging to a past youth that is gone. When you see gray hair or wrinkles, instead of panicking, you might smile and think, "Ah, impermanence, everything changes and that's okay." This mindset can replace dread with a kind of gentle acceptance and even humor. Similarly, when relationships change, friends drift apart or our children become adults, we can mourn what's gone, but also acknowledge the impermanence and allow ourselves to embrace the new form the relationship takes. Maybe you don't tuck your son in at night anymore, but you can have deep adult conversations with him now. Maybe you don't hang out with an old friend daily, but you cherish the occasional catch-up call. To embrace impermanence in daily practice, start with small things. Notice the weather today. Is it sunny, rainy, cloudy? It won't stay exactly like that for long. Notice your mood, feeling a bit down or extremely excited. It will shift, maybe by tomorrow or even the next hour. Watch a candle flame or listen to the fading sound of a bell to meditate on how everything arises and fades away. When something good happens, tell yourself, "I'm going to enjoy this fully now." When something bad happens, remind yourself, "It's temporary. I can get through this." These simple acknowledgements align your mind with reality, and in doing so, reduce a huge amount of mental friction and anguish. You start to flow with the stream of life instead of grabbing at the banks and getting battered. Buddhism doesn't ask us to like everything that happens, only to acknowledge that things do happen and change regardless of our preferences. Strangely enough, once you accept that truth, you often find a measure of peace even amid situations you don't like. It's like the peace of being in harmony with nature. You might prefer sunshine, but if it's raining, a part of you can still find peace by appreciating the sound of rain and knowing it's watering the earth. Fighting the rain in your mind only makes you more miserable. Accepting it lets you adapt. You grab an umbrella or enjoy a cozy indoor day. So, embrace impermanence. It is not a morbid fixation on endings, it's a wise and compassionate way of relating to life. When you accept change, you become more resilient and more grateful. You savor the good and can better endure the bad. In fact, the very immediacy of this shift is remarkable. Even a single moment of recognizing everything is impermanent can bring a deep breath of relief to your heart. You stop holding on so tightly, relax your white-knuckled grip on life, and in that relaxation, suffering eases. Takeaway for Principle 2, everything in life is transient, and that's okay. When you embrace the fact that all things change, you learn to cherish each moment for what it is and let it go when it's time. This too shall pass becomes a mantra that softens your sorrows and amplifies your joy. By accepting impermanence, you flow with life's changes instead of fighting them, finding peace in the ever-changing stream of experiences. Principle 3, let go of attachments, free yourself from clinging. Why do we suffer? According to Buddhism, a major reason is attachment, our tendency to cling tightly to things we like and push away things we don't like. We hold on to possessions, people, opinions, and outcomes as if our very life depended on them, and we believe we must have them to be happy. The irony is, the tighter we grasp, the more pain we feel when the unavoidable change, impermanence, occurs. The third principle invites us to let go of attachments and cravings, to loosen our grip and find freedom in not needing to control or possess everything. The moment you release that tight hold, whether it's on a desire, an expectation, or even a resentment, you'll notice an immediate sense of relief and lightness. It's like setting down a heavy bag you've been lugging around. Suddenly, you can stand up straight and breathe easier. The Buddha identified attachment, or craving, tanha, as the root cause of suffering in the second noble truth. We crave pleasure, we crave existence in a particular form, we crave for things to be different than they are, and these endless cravings keep us dissatisfied. There's a striking line in the Dhammapada: from attachment springs grief, from attachment springs fear. For one who is wholly free from attachment, there is no grief. How can there be fear? dailydhammapada.tumblr.com. When you first hear that, it might seem impossible, no grief or fear at all. But think about it, grief is the pain of losing something we were deeply attached to, and fear is often the worry that we will lose something or not get what we desire. If our minds weren't glued so stubbornly to those desires and things, the loss or threat of loss wouldn't shake us so hard. This doesn't mean we shouldn't love people or enjoy life. It means we hold our love and enjoyment with an open hand rather than a clenched fist. Picture holding a delicate flower. If you squeeze it tightly, it gets crushed, and you also hurt your hand with its thorns. If you hold it lightly on your palm, you can appreciate its beauty, and when the time comes, you can let it fall without injury. Similarly, attachments, when too tight, can strangle the very happiness they bring. Have you ever wanted something so badly, like a job, a romantic prospect, or a material item, that you tied your whole well-being to it? It's nerve-wracking. Until you have it, you're anxious, and if you don't get it, you're devastated. And even if you get it, the relief and joy might be short-lived because now you fear losing it or discover it didn't fulfill you the way you hoped. Attachment is like a mental trap that promises happiness but often delivers the opposite. Buddhist stories often use vivid metaphors to illustrate attachment. One classic metaphor is the monkey trap. In some places, villagers would catch monkeys by placing a jar with a small opening filled with sweet treats. The monkey reaches in, grabs a fistful of sweets, but then its clenched fist can't fit back out through the narrow opening. The monkey could let go of the treats and be free, but driven by attachment, it holds on, effectively trapping itself. In the end, the very thing the monkey wants is what causes it to be captured. Aren't we humans the same sometimes? We trap ourselves by holding onto things, anger, material possessions, relationships that have run their course, or even ideas of how life should be. Freedom is often one unclenching away. Let's bring it to a more personal level with a common scenario. Suppose you have an attachment to a particular outcome at work, a promotion, for example. Working hard and aiming for it is great. But if you become attached, meaning your self-worth and happiness hinge on it, you'll experience a roller coaster of emotions and stress. Every little sign from your boss might send you into hope or despair. You might start seeing colleagues as rivals rather than friends. Now, if the promotion comes, perhaps you feel elated, but also pressured to prove yourself and terrified of failing. If it doesn't come, you might plunge into disappointment or resentment. But what if, instead, you set the intention to get promoted and work diligently, while also telling yourself, I'll do my best, but if it doesn't happen, I'll be okay. I can find another opportunity or continue improving. By loosening the attachment to the result, you transform your journey. You'll work more joyfully, because the specter of failure isn't strangling you, and if things don't go your way, you recover much faster. Letting go doesn't mean not caring, it means caring in a healthy way, giving your full effort without fixating on controlling the outcome. Another everyday example, think of your smartphone. Many of us are quite attached to these devices. Have you ever misplaced your phone and felt a surge of panic? That reaction shows the level of attachment. Now imagine being able to say, it's okay, it's just a phone. If it's gone, inconvenient, but not the end of the world. Immediately, the panic would reduce. You'd calmly try to locate it, or consider getting a replacement, rather than feeling like your life is over. That calmness is the fruit of non-attachment. You enjoy and use things, but you don't let them own you. One powerful Buddhist practice to cultivate non-attachment is reflection on change and sufficiency. Remind yourself that clinging to fleeting things is like trying to clutch flowing water, you just end up feeling frantic and wet, whereas if you cup your hands gently, you can hold a bit of water to drink. Also, reflect on what you already have. Contentment, which we'll talk about more in Principle 10, is the antidote to the itch of attachment that constantly screams, I need more, more, more. When you feel the pang of attachment, say the newest model car or phone has come out and now you crave it, pause and literally take inventory of how you feel with what you currently have. Are your current car and phone working fine? Is your life actually okay without the latest thing? Often, you'll realize the craving is just a habit or marketing-induced desire, not a true need. Letting the craving pass saves you from unnecessary stress or expense. The Buddha also advised practicing generosity as a way to loosen attachments. When we give, whether it's money, time, or love, without expecting something in return, we practice the art of letting go. If you feel super attached to something like money, try donating a small amount to a cause you care about. Notice the mental hurdle and then the surprising joy that can come after you let it go. It teaches on a visceral level that happiness can come from letting go, not just acquiring. In fact, many have found that the less they own, the freer they feel. This is the principle behind monks giving up worldly possessions, not because having stuff is evil, but to experientially see that one can be content with little and that clinging is optional. Let's address attachments in relationships, which can be tricky. Loving someone deeply is a beautiful thing, clinging to them, however, can stifle the relationship and cause suffering. For example, a parent who is overly attached to their child might struggle to let them grow up, potentially smothering the child's independence and causing friction. Or in a romantic relationship, attachment might manifest as jealousy or controlling behavior, you must spend all your time with me, which ironically can push the other person away. Buddhism encourages loving without clinging. The idea is to wish for the other person's happiness sincerely, even if it eventually comes in forms that don't include you as much, like your child finding their own path, or a partner needing personal space. It's not easy, but when you manage even a little of that unconditional love, you feel lighter. You realize your happiness isn't chained to micromanaging someone else. You can give them freedom, and in doing so, you also give yourself freedom from constant fear of loss. A wonderful quote by the Thai Buddhist master Ajahn Chah encapsulates this principle. He said, "If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you will have complete peace." ScienceandNonduality.com. Notice how immediate that cause and effect is. Let go equals peace. It doesn't say if you let go, eventually, maybe, you'll feel okay. It correlates directly. The very act of loosening your hold brings relief right now. You can try it. Think of something that's been bothering you because you're attached to a certain outcome. What happens if, just for a moment, you say in your mind, "Whatever happens, it's okay. I'll be okay." That's a tiny letting go. Likely you'll feel a small release of tension in your body or a lightness in your mind. To practice letting go in daily life, start with manageable things. Clean out a drawer and give away items you don't use. Observe the liberating feeling of creating space. The next time you're in an argument, let go of the need to have the last word or to be right, and notice how the conflict de-escalates and your heart rate settles. When you feel strong desire for something, a second serving of dessert, a luxury item outside your budget, experiment with not acting on it immediately. Watch the desire rise and fall on its own. You'll realize you can endure the itch of craving without scratching it, and it eventually goes away, leaving you peaceful and proud that you didn't give in to an impulse. Letting go of attachments doesn't mean we become emotionless robots or that we don't pursue goals. It means we pursue them with flexibility and grace. We enjoy things and love people deeply, but we appreciate them for what they are, without false expectations of permanence or ownership. It's a bit like enjoying a beautiful sunset. You fully take it in, but you don't try to hold onto the sun. You know it will set, and that's okay. In fact, the sunset's impermanence is what makes it so precious. When it's gone, you don't panic. You know the sun will rise again in a new and different sunrise tomorrow. By letting go of attachment, you immediately transform your inner landscape. You trade anxiety for trust, greed for contentment, and control for flow. Life becomes lighter. You become more resilient because you're not shattered when things inevitably change or when you don't get what you want. Instead, you find you can be content and calm regardless of the external situation. As you cultivate this attitude, you'll likely find that you can still engage joyfully with life, even more so, because you're not constantly fearing loss or disappointment. You're just living, moment by moment, with an open heart and open hand. Takeaway for Principle 3, clinging tightly only ties you in knots. By letting go of attachments, loosening that desperate grip on people, outcomes, and things, you set yourself free. Like a bird released from a cage, your heart gains room to soar in peace. Let go a little, and feel a little peace. Let go a lot, and feel a lot of peace. What's meant for you will come and stay in its own time. You don't need to crush it in your fist. In letting go, you gain the whole sky of serenity. Principle 4. Release anger and hatred, the power of forgiveness. Anger is a natural human emotion, we all experience it from time to time. But when anger and hatred take root in our hearts, they cause immense suffering, often more to ourselves than to the target of our anger. We carry anger like a hot coal, burning our own hand while intending to throw it at someone else. The fourth principle is to release anger and ill will, and to embrace forgiveness and non-hatred. This doesn't mean you approve of bad behavior or injustice, it means you choose not to let anger poison you and dictate your actions. The moment you decide to let go of a grudge or soften your resentment, you feel a weight lift. Forgiveness, even if it's just forgiving yourself or the situation, can be an immediate balm to a hurting heart. The Buddha had very clear teachings on anger. One famous verse from the Dhammapada states, "Hatred is never appeased by hatred in this world. By non-hatred alone is hatred appeased." This is a law eternal. Gavihara.org. It's a profound truth. Responding to hate with hate only fuels an endless cycle of anger and pain. Only by responding with non-hatred, which we could interpret as understanding, compassion, or at least not adding more fuel, can the cycle be broken. It's an eternal law, meaning it's always true. Think about any conflict, from personal quarrels to wars. When each side keeps hating and hurting the other, does it ever resolve peacefully? Not until someone has the courage to let go of anger or at least stop retaliating. In another analogy, the Buddha compared holding onto anger to grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone. In the end, you are the one who gets burned. We might have heard a similar saying often attributed to Buddha or other wise figures: holding onto anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The takeaway is clear: anger and hatred primarily harm the person who carries them. When you're fuming with anger, notice how it feels. Your heart rate goes up, your body tenses, your mind becomes agitated or fixated. It's a form of stress that can ruin your day or even your health if it becomes chronic. Meanwhile, the person you're angry at might be going about their day, unaware of your inner turmoil. So who's suffering? We are, in our own private hell of anger. Forgiveness and letting go of anger can be challenging, especially if we feel our anger is justified. But consider what forgiveness is not. It's not saying that what the other person did was okay, nor is it forgetting the lesson or opening yourself to further harm. Forgiveness is primarily an act of self-healing. It's you deciding, I will not carry this bitterness in my heart any longer because it's hurting me. I release my resentment. This act can be entirely internal. You don't even need to tell the other person in some cases, it's about freeing your own heart. Let's use a relatable example. Suppose a friend betrayed your trust, maybe by gossiping about something you told them in confidence. Naturally, you feel hurt and angry. Weeks go by and you still seethe whenever you think about it. Now, you have a choice. You can keep that anger, replaying the incident and feeling the hurt afresh each time, but notice that each replay is like scratching a wound, it never gets to heal and you keep feeling pain. Or you can decide, I won't let this incident control me anymore. Perhaps you confront your friend or distance yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean you must continue associating if trust is broken, but internally, you make a decision to forgive. You remind yourself that humans are imperfect, that maybe your friend was insecure or made a mistake. You might recall times you let someone down and were forgiven. As you cultivate empathy, or at least an understanding that holding anger isn't helping, you find the anger starts to dissolve. The next time you think about your friend, you might still feel a twinge, but it's not a hot stab of rage anymore, more like a cool sadness or compassion. That is a huge victory for your peace of mind. Buddhist teachings provide tools like metta, loving kindness, meditation specifically to deal with anger. In metta practice, one silently repeats wishes of well-being, first to oneself, then to loved ones, then to neutral people, and eventually even to those with whom one has conflict. For example, may I be happy, may I be peaceful. Then, may my friend be happy, peaceful. Finally, may that person I'm angry with be happy, be peaceful. The first time you try sending good wishes to someone you resent, it might feel impossible or even make you angry that you should wish them well. But if you gently persist, something amazing often happens, your anger eases. You start seeing that person not as a villain but as a flawed human, like the rest of us, who, in their own twisted way, was trying to be happy or avoid suffering when they hurt you. This understanding breeds compassion, which is the antidote to anger. You realize their actions were due to ignorance, fear, or pain, not because they are some monstrous being. None of this excuses what they did, it simply expands your perspective so you're not stuck in a loop of I'm right, they're wrong, I hate them. A very illustrative anecdote from the Buddha's life shows the power of responding to anger with non-anger. It's said that one day a man came up to the Buddha and started insulting him, calling him all sorts of names. The Buddha sat calmly and didn't react. Confused by this, the man asked why the Buddha wasn't responding with anger. The Buddha asked the man a question in return: if someone offers you a gift and you decline to accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man answered, to the person who tried to give it. The Buddha smiled and said, I do not accept your anger, so it remains with you. In that simple response, the Buddha demonstrates a profound skill, not internalizing others' anger, not letting their negativity poison his own mind. Tricycle.org. We may not have the Buddha's level of equanimity yet, but we can learn from this example. The next time someone directs anger at you, maybe a driver yelling on the road, or a rude customer, or a family member snapping in a bad mood, try to remember, I don't have to accept this gift of anger. I can choose not to let it stick to me. Often this means taking a deep breath, staying silent or speaking softly, and refusing to escalate the situation. The result? You feel proud for not losing your cool, and the conflict often fizzles out when one side doesn't fuel it. It's also important to talk about anger toward ourselves. Sometimes the person we have the hardest time forgiving is us. We all carry some regrets or guilt, things we wish we hadn't done, or times we think we failed. Buddhist compassion isn't only directed outward, it very much includes self-compassion. If you're holding anger or disappointment toward yourself, the principle is the same: you must learn to release it, to forgive yourself for being imperfect. Imagine you're talking to a dear friend who made the same mistake you did. You'd likely be kind and encouraging to them, right? You deserve the same gentle treatment. Recognize that at that time, You were doing the best you could with what you knew. Now you've learned and will do better. Then let it go. Self-forgiveness can produce an immediate sense of relief, like unclenching a tight fist you didn't realize you'd been holding against your own heart. There's a reason forgiveness is emphasized in so many spiritual traditions. It's fundamentally healing. As soon as you forgive, you disrupt the cycle of anger. You take back control of your emotional well-being. In practical terms, how do you forgive? It might help to reflect on times you were forgiven by others, or to understand the circumstances that led to the harm. Sometimes writing a letter, you don't even have to send it, to express your feelings, and then writing, "I release this" at the end can be a ritual to signal your mind that it's done. Other times, it's a daily intentional practice. Each time the angry thought towards that person or yourself arises, you consciously say, "Nope, not going there. I choose to let this be past." In Buddhism, one might also contemplate karma, understanding that everyone experiences results of their actions, so you don't need to be the executioner of justice. If someone hurt you, trust that in some way, life will teach them what they need to learn. You can let go of being judge and jury, which is a heavy burden to carry. Releasing anger doesn't mean you never speak up or that you become a doormat. You may very well take strong actions to address wrongdoing, but ideally without hatred in your heart. For instance, if something unfair happens at work, you can assertively raise the issue, seeking a solution, rather than stewing in silent rage or plotting revenge. If you need to distance yourself from someone toxic, you do it with a sense of wishing them well in your heart, or at least not wishing them harm, simply recognizing you need not entangle with their behavior. This way, you protect both your outer interests and your inner peace. In summary, the immediate transformation from letting go of anger is a profound sense of peace and release. Where there was a hard knot in your chest, there's now space. People often report feeling lighter after forgiving. That's not just a metaphor, it's almost physical relief. You're no longer carrying the heavy load of bitterness. It might need to be done repeatedly. Sometimes anger creeps back and you have to forgive again and again. But each time you do it, you reaffirm that your well-being is more important than your ill will. The more you practice non-anger, the more natural it becomes. You start to notice anger early, and you can address it before it flares out of control, perhaps by taking a break, doing some deep breathing, recalling a wise saying, or practicing empathy for the other side. The Buddha taught that in all the universe, no enemy will harm you as much as your own anger and hate can harm you. Conversely, no parent or friend can benefit you as much as a mind of love, goodwill, can benefit you. These are powerful statements about where true harm and true protection lie, within our own minds. stoinsight.org. Access to insight.org. By releasing anger and cultivating forgiveness, you're essentially protecting yourself, shielding your heart from the fire that anger brings. And in doing so, you also contribute to a more peaceful world around you, one less person radiating anger and more person radiating understanding. Takeaway for Principle 4, anger and hate burn hottest in the vessel that contains them, that vessel is you. To free yourself, let go of that hot coal. Forgiving doesn't mean you approve of the wrong, it means you refuse to let the wrong from yesterday steal your peace today. When you release anger, you make room for clarity, solutions, and healing. Respond to hate with its only antidote, understanding and non-hate. In practicing forgiveness, you're not doing anyone else a favor, you're setting yourself free from the prison of resentment. Principle 5. Cultivate compassion, live with loving kindness. Imagine for a moment looking at every person you encounter, family, friend, or stranger, with the same warmth and wish for them to be happy that you would have for someone you truly love. How transformative would that be, not only for them but for you? Living with compassion and loving kindness, known as metta in Buddhism, is like bathing the world and yourself in a gentle light. It immediately softens your outlook, reduces friction in relationships, and gives a profound sense of purpose and connection. Principle 5 is to cultivate compassion, to live with an open heart that genuinely cares for others, and oneself, and wishes to alleviate suffering wherever possible. In Buddhism, compassion, karu, is considered a fundamental virtue. It's the desire to help remove the suffering of others. Loving kindness, metta, is closely related, and it's the unconditional goodwill and love towards all beings, wishing them happiness. The Buddha and many great masters emphasize that these qualities are not just feel-good ideals, they are powerful forces that transform lives. The Dalai Lama, a contemporary example of a Buddhist master of compassion, famously said, "If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion." Goodreads.com. Notice he includes your own happiness there, because compassion is a win-win virtue. It blesses the receiver and the giver alike. When we talk about immediate life transformation, compassion is a fast-acting remedy. Picture times when you've been angry or frustrated with someone. Suddenly, you learn something about their situation. Maybe that grumpy coworker is caring for a sick parent at home, or the driver who cut you off is rushing to the hospital. Instantly, your anger melts into compassion, right? The situation didn't change, but your heart did. That instant softening brings emotional relief. You're no longer boiling in anger, and often spurs helpful action or at least patience. Compassion can flip a scenario 180 degrees in a heartbeat. A moving scriptural example of compassion is the story of Angulimala, a bandit in Buddha's time. Angulimala had done terrible things. He was said to have killed many people. When the Buddha encountered him, instead of seeing a monster, the Buddha saw a suffering human being capable of change. Through compassion and fearless love, he reached out to Angulimala, who eventually dropped his weapons, renounced violence, and became a monk under the Buddha's guidance. Such is the power of compassion, it can disarm even literal weapons. While we might not be transforming bandits in our daily life, we do encounter people hardened by anger, fear, or pain. Meeting them with compassion rather than judgment can defuse conflicts and even change lives. It certainly changes our life because we're not adding fuel to fires, we're adding water. Cultivating compassion can start small. One practical way is through the loving kindness meditation I mentioned earlier, where you systematically send good wishes. Here's a quick taste. You sit quietly and think of someone who's easy to love, maybe a dear friend or your child or pet. You think, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. You let warm feelings for them fill your heart. Then you extend those wishes to yourself. Yes, self-compassion is important, may I be happy and healthy, then to others, family members, acquaintances, perhaps eventually including someone you find difficult, and finally all beings. This practice can be incredibly heart-opening. At first, it might feel mechanical, but over time you notice a genuine warmth arising. The beautiful thing is, you can do this anywhere, anytime, while stuck in traffic. Instead of cursing, try wishing others well, while waiting in line, or as a morning routine. The immediate effect is often a lighter, more positive mood and a sense of connection. It's hard to feel isolated or resentful when you're actively beaming out kind wishes. Another approach to build compassion is simply to remind yourself that everyone wants to be happy and avoid suffering, just like you. This perspective shift is powerful. The stranger on the street, the coworker who annoys you, the driver tailgating you. At the core, they're driven by the same basic impulses, seeking happiness, or what they think will bring happiness, and trying to dodge pain. Their methods might be flawed or even harmful, but when you see the scared or striving human underneath, it's easier to feel compassion. It doesn't mean you approve of bad actions, it means you can at least think, maybe this person is under stress or ignorance. May they find peace so they don't act like this. Such a thought keeps your heart soft rather than hardening into hate. Let's get practical with an everyday scenario. You come home from a tough day, and a family member snaps at you over something trivial. Your first reaction might be to snap back or feel hurt. But suppose you pause and apply compassion. You think, they must have had a rough day too, or they're dealing with something. So instead of lashing out, you gently ask, "Hey, you okay? It seems like you're upset." That compassionate response can immediately diffuse the tension. Your family member might even apologize or open up about what's bothering them. The evening goes from potentially explosive to one of mutual support, all because you injected compassion instead of anger. This is immediate life transformation at the relationship level. Compassion turns conflicts into opportunities for understanding. Compassion also transforms how you feel in a given moment. Acting with kindness gives a sense of fulfillment. Think of a time you helped someone, maybe you comforted a friend, helped a stranger with directions, or did some volunteer work. You probably noticed that afterwards you felt uplifted. That's the boomerang effect of compassion. What you give comes back to you in the form of inner satisfaction and happiness. Modern science even supports this. Studies show that compassionate action releases oxytocin, sometimes called the warm glow chemical, in the brain, making us feel good. In a very real sense, we're wired such that being kind is a reward in itself. One of the most touching Buddhist teachings on compassion is the Karani Yametta Sutta, the Buddha's discourse on loving kindness. In it, he uses a striking image. Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so one should cultivate a boundless love towards all beings. realbuddhaquotes.com. Think about a mother's love, protective, unconditional, selfless. The Buddha is saying that if we can generate even a fraction of that feeling towards everyone, including strangers or difficult people, we create a powerful force of good. That might sound superhuman, but it's an ideal to move toward, bit by bit. And any step toward it, like being a little more patient, a little kinder in speech, offering a smile or a listening ear, makes a tangible difference in our day and in others' days. Compassion also means taking action when possible to help. It doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be checking on an elderly neighbor, or standing up against a bully for someone who's being picked on, or donating what you can to charity. When you start seeing through compassionate eyes, you notice opportunities all around. A colleague looks overwhelmed, you offer help with their workload. A friend sounds sad, you make time to talk or send an encouraging message. You notice someone hungry on the street, you offer a meal or some support. Each of these acts not only eases their suffering a bit, but it immediately uplifts you. You go from focusing on your problems to feeling grateful you could give something. Your own troubles often feel lighter in the context of contributing to others. This is not to deny your problems, but compassion broadens your perspective beyond the narrow mind that often intensifies personal suffering. One might wonder, won't being so compassionate make me vulnerable or easy to take advantage of? It's a valid concern. However, compassion in Buddhism is coupled with wisdom. We're not talking about enabling bad behavior or ignoring justice, we're talking about approaching situations with a kind intent rather than malice. You can be compassionate and still set boundaries. In fact, compassion towards yourself might require you to set boundaries with someone who's hurting you. You can wish an abusive person well, hoping they heal whatever causes them to abuse, and still protect yourself or others from their actions. The key is you're doing so without hatred, perhaps even with sadness that this is how things have to be, rather than with vengeful delight. This distinction matters, because it determines whether your heart stays soft or hardens into bitterness. So compassion is not weakness, it's strength. It's a courageous choice to remain kind in a harsh world. And it has a ripple effect. People often respond to genuine kindness by softening themselves. Even if they don't, you've upheld your own integrity and peace. One of my favorite Dalai Lama observations is that when you are kind, it's not certain that it will change the other person, but it will change you. And that's often enough. Plus, kindness tends to be contagious. You smile at someone, and they are more likely to smile at the next person, and so on. Think about the emotional climate you create around you when you practice compassion. At home, if one person starts consistently acting with compassion, it encourages others to do the same. The home becomes a warm space rather than a cold war zone. At work, a team member who's compassionate can uplift the whole team's morale. People feel heard and valued, conflicts are resolved more amicably, cooperation increases. In your own heart, compassion acts like a soothing balm. The more you care about others' well-being, the less consumed you are by your own worries and ego dramas. That doesn't mean neglecting yourself. In fact, a compassionate stance includes being gentle and caring with yourself. It simply means broadening the circle of care. Self-compassion is an often overlooked but vital part of this principle. It's treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd give to a dear friend. It's realizing you're only human, so you'll have bad days and make mistakes, and that's okay. Rather than beating yourself up, you encourage yourself. Many of us have a harsh inner critic. Cultivating compassion turns that inner critic into a supportive coach or a kind friend. The immediate effect of self-compassion is less anxiety and shame, and more resilience. When you're kind to yourself, You bounce back from setbacks faster because you're not wasting energy on self-loathing. You become emotionally stronger and strangely, also more humble, because you accept both your strengths and weaknesses without judgment. To sum up, compassion is a direct route to a more meaningful and joyful life. Each moment steeped in kindness is a moment not lost to anger, envy, or indifference. You can start right now, in small ways. Listen deeply when someone speaks, give someone the benefit of the doubt, perform a random act of kindness, or simply silently wish well for people you see during your day. These aren't big sacrifices, they're simple choices that reorient your heart. And as you make those choices, you'll likely feel an immediate difference, as if you've turned on a light in a dark room. Things feel warmer, brighter. That's compassion illuminating your life. Takeaway for Principle 5, an open heart heals the world, and yourself. When you approach life with compassion and loving kindness, every interaction becomes an opportunity to give and receive care. Practice seeing others through the eyes of understanding. Each person, just like you, wants happiness and struggles with hardship. By offering kindness instead of judgment, you dissolve barriers and create connection. And remember, compassion includes you too. Be as kind to yourself as you would be to someone you truly love. In the warmth of compassion, bitterness cannot survive, and both you and those around you find comfort and hope. Principle 6. Practice mindfulness. Be present in the moment. Our minds are often like time travelers, constantly flipping to the past, rehashing old memories, regrets, or what-ifs, or to the future, planning, worrying, daydreaming about what's next. How much of your day do you spend fully here and now? If you're like most of us, probably not as much as you'd like. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing your attention fully into the present moment, with gentle awareness and without judgment. By being present, you actually experience your life instead of mentally being elsewhere. The sixth principle invites us to cultivate mindfulness in everyday life, to truly live in each moment. The immediate transformation this brings is remarkable: less stress, clearer focus, more appreciation, and a sense of calm even amid chaos. The Buddha placed huge importance on mindfulness, in Pali, sati. In fact, one of his famous teachings, the Satipatthana Sutta, Foundations of Mindfulness, outlines how to practice mindfulness of body, feelings, mind, and phenomena as the direct path to enlightenment. But even on a more basic level, he taught mindfulness as essential for living wisely. There's a well-known quote often attributed to Buddha that goes, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment." While the exact wording is from a later summary, the sentiment echoes the Buddha's teachings in the present-focused Bhattacharita Sutta. In that discourse, he says, one should not pursue the past or lose oneself in the future. The past no longer is, the future has not yet come. Looking deeply at life as it is in the here and now, the wise person dwells in stability and freedom. plumvillage.org. That's a powerful endorsement of presence. Stability and freedom are found in the here and now. Why is being present so liberating? Because reality lives only in the present. The past is gone, we can learn from it, yes, but we can't relive it, except in our memory, which is often selective or distorted. The future isn't here, we can plan for it, but worrying excessively doesn't actually secure it. Meanwhile, right now is the only place we can act, the only place we can truly experience anything. Mindfulness brings us into direct contact with life. It's like switching from a foggy, distracted lens to HD clarity. Consider how mindfulness can change a simple activity, eating a meal. Often we scarf down food while watching TV or thinking about something else, and before we know it the plate is empty and we barely tasted anything. A mindful approach would be to pause, take in the sight and smell of the food, chew slowly, savor the flavors, notice the textures, and feel gratitude for the nourishment. This turns an everyday routine into a rich experience. You actually register I am eating and it's enjoyable. As a result, you might even eat the right amount, because you notice when you're full, and digest better, since you're relaxed and chewing well. Same meal, different awareness, immediate shift in quality of experience. That's mindfulness at work. Now apply this to more complex situations, listening to someone speak, for example. When you listen mindfully, you're not simultaneously rehearsing what you'll say next or fiddling with your phone, you're fully tuned in. The speaker feels truly heard, which is a gift of compassion as well, and you actually catch the nuances of what they're saying. Conversations become more fulfilling and less prone to misunderstanding. Or think about working on a task. If you're mindful, you are fully engaged in that task rather than doing it on autopilot while your mind meanders. This likely means you do it better and maybe even faster, because you catch mistakes or clever insights in the moment. Plus, there's a satisfaction in being absorbed in something, whether it's a craft, a report, or even cleaning the house. Time may even feel like it flows differently, sometimes faster, because you're not checking the clock, or sometimes slower in a good way, because you're immersed and not rushed by mental chatter. What's notable is that mindfulness can bring calm even in stressful situations. Let's say you're stuck in a traffic jam, a scenario we all dread. Typically, if you're unmindful, you'd be mentally anywhere but there, cursing the situation, worrying about being late, your mind spinning in frustration. Your blood pressure rises, your grip on the steering wheel tightens, maybe you even honk in irritation. None of that moves the traffic, of course, it only makes you more miserable. Now, what if you try mindfulness? You notice the tightness in your body, so maybe you adjust your sitting position. You become aware of your breathing, which is probably shallow due to stress, so you consciously take a few slow, deep breaths. You look at the sky or notice the trees by the roadside, things you wouldn't notice when lost in thought. You might turn off an aggressive radio talk show and just sit in silence or play some gentle music. Essentially, you say, "This is what's happening, I'm in a car that's not moving. Can I be present with it without fighting it?" Sure enough, accepting the present moment as it is often releases a lot of tension. You might even find a bit of serenity, a mini break in an otherwise busy day. The cars will move when they move. Meanwhile, you're not mentally torturing yourself, you're just there. When the traffic opens up, you continue on your way without having worked yourself into a frenzy. Your day is much better for it. Mindfulness often begins with the simple act of observing your breath. The breath is a fantastic anchor because it's always with us, it's neutral and rhythmic, and it reflects our state, fast when anxious, slow when calm. If you can remember to take mindful breaths periodically, you break the chain of unconscious reactivity. For instance, before answering a phone call, take one mindful breath, in and out, aware of it. That sets a tone of calm for the call. Or if an email annoys you, instead of shooting off a quick angry reply, you step back and breathe mindfully for a minute. You might notice your heart pounding or your face flushed, signs of anger. Just being aware of these sensations often cools the intensity. Then you can respond more skillfully, perhaps by writing a measured response or deciding not to respond until you cool down. There's a lovely term, stop and smell the roses. Mindfulness is exactly that ethos. It invites you to notice the little things that are pleasant or interesting, which we otherwise hurry past. The warmth of the sun on your skin when you step outside, the sound of birds chirping amid city noise, the feeling of water on your hands while washing dishes. These might seem trivial, but cumulatively they enrich your life. Instead of only big milestones being meaningful, every day is sprinkled with micro-joys and moments of awe, if we are present to them. Mindfulness also helps with emotional balance. When an emotion like sadness or anger arises, a mindful approach is to acknowledge it. Anger is here, or I feel sadness in my chest. Rather than immediately suppressing it or exploding with it, you observe it. You might notice it's just a wave that crests and eventually subsides. Neuroscience suggests that an emotion, if not fueled by stories, often dissipates in about 90 seconds. It's our additional mental commentary, I shouldn't be angry, this is bad, or I'm angry because that person is awful and now I recall every time they wronged me, that keeps it going. Mindfulness can interrupt that commentary. You feel the pure sensation of anger, tight jaw, heat in the face, etc., and watch it. This gives you a little space between the emotion and your reacti.